Commander Lee Jun stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching the massive display screens that showed real-time data from across human space. The morning had started normally, but now red warning lights flashed across every monitoring station. Something was wrong with history itself. The first alert came from the Mars Historical Archive. The curator sent an urgent message that made Lee Jun's blood run cold. According to their records, humanity had never won the Battle of Europa Station. The famous victory that saved Earth's outer colonies now showed as a devastating defeat. But Lee Jun remembered that battle clearly. He had been there as a young officer, watching Commander Chen lead the final assault that broke the pirate blockade. More reports flooded in within the hour. The team's invention of faster-than-light travel was now credited to an unknown alien species called the Keth Collective. The discovery of quantum computing showed human scientists working under alien guidance rather than developing the technology independently. Even small details were changing. The first human colony on Proxima was supposedly established with alien permission rather than bold human exploration. Lee Jun called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. Dr. Park Nari arrived first, her face pale with worry. She carried a tablet showing temporal readings from deep space monitoring stations. The numbers made no sense at first glance, but her explanation made them terrifying. Commander, we are detecting massive quantum fluctuations in what I can only describe as the information substrate of reality itself. Dr. Park Nari said, setting her tablet on the conference table. Someone or something is reaching back through time and changing not just records, but the fundamental nature of how events occurred. Captain Kim Dae entered the room carrying a thick folder of reconnaissance reports. His usual calm expression showed cracks of confusion and anger. My deep space scouts are reporting something impossible. They are finding evidence of human defeats in battles that I know we won. Physical evidence, wreckage, monuments, even genetic markers in populations that survived those conflicts. Engineer Cho Hanna was the last to arrive, but her findings were perhaps the most disturbing. Commander, I have been analyzing the quantum signatures of these changes. They are not random alterations to historical records. This is systematic rewriting of causality itself. Whoever is doing this has technology that can reach across time and space to change the very building blocks of what we call reality. Lee Jun studied the data his team presented. The pattern was clear and deeply troubling. Every change reduced human achievement, independence, or significance in galactic history. Humanity's greatest moments of courage, innovation, and expansion were being systematically erased or diminished. Dr. Park Nari activated a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. Red markers indicated areas where temporal anomalies were strongest. The concentration around Mars was particularly intense. We need to investigate the source of these disturbances, she said. Mars has always been important to human development, but now the readings suggest it holds secrets we never discovered. The team prepared for an emergency mission to Mars. Captain Kim Dae selected his best pilots and equipped fast reconnaissance ships with Dr. Park Nari's temporal detection equipment. Engineer Cho Hanna installed quantum shields designed to protect the crew from whatever forces were altering reality around them. The journey to Mars took 18 hours using their fastest ships. During the flight, more reports arrived from across human space. The changes were accelerating. Colonies that had thrived for generations now showed records of failure and abandonment. Human heroes were being written out of history entirely, their achievements attributed to mysterious alien benefactors. On Mars, the team made their way to the northern polar region where temporal readings were strongest. Dr. Park Nari's scanners led them to an area that official maps showed as empty wasteland. But as they approached, the quantum shields began detecting massive artificial structures buried beneath centuries of dust and ice. Captain Kim Day's excavation drones revealed ruins that defied everything humans thought they knew about Mars. The architecture was clearly alien, but the age of the structures suggested they had been there for thousands of years, long before humans ever reached the Red Planet, deep within the alien complex. Dr. Park Nari found chambers filled with crystalline formations that pulsed with energy. Her instruments detected quantum information streams flowing through the crystals, carrying data across impossible distances. The ruins were some kind of communication or monitoring facility, still active after millennia. Engineer Johanna managed to interface her equipment with the alien technology. The data streams contained detailed information about human civilization, but not as humans knew it. According to these records, humanity had always been guided by alien oversight. Every major human achievement was shown as the result of careful alien manipulation and control. The most shocking discovery came when Dr. Park Nari accessed what appeared to be a historical database. The records showed dozens of other species, all of whom had apparently been guided through similar controlled development. Each civilization had been carefully managed, their natural growth patterns altered to fit some greater design. Captain Kim Day found warning inscriptions carved into the walls of the deepest chambers. The alien writing was ancient, but the universal translation protocols could make sense of the basic message. It spoke of temporal correctors and galactic balance. It warned about the consequences of allowing species to develop beyond predetermined limits. As the team studied the alien facility, they realized they were looking at evidence of a vast conspiracy spanning millions of years. Some force had been actively managing galactic civilization, ensuring that no species grew too powerful or independent. Humanity's rapid expansion and technological development had apparently violated the rules of this ancient system. Lee Jun received an urgent communication from Earth while his team worked in the alien ruins. More human colonies were reporting historical changes. Some settlements now showed as never having been founded at all. The changes were not just affecting records anymore. Physical structures were shifting. Kane populations were discovering their own memories conflicted with documented history. The final piece of the puzzle came when Dr. Park Nari detected massive energy signatures moving through space toward Earth. Her long-range scanners showed ships of impossible size using technology that bent space and time around them. The source of the temporal changes was coming to finish what they had started. Commander Lee Jun gathered his team for an emergency return to Earth. They now knew humanity faced an enemy that could rewrite reality itself. But they also knew something their attackers might not expect. The alien ruins on Mars had given them insight into technology that worked by imposing order and control on natural chaos. Humanity had never been good at following rules or accepting control. That stubborn independence had always been seen as a weakness by more organized species. But as Lee Jun looked at the data showing systematic attempts to erase human achievement, he wondered if humanity's chaotic nature might actually be their greatest strength against an enemy that relied on perfect order and predictable outcomes. The race back to Earth began with a new understanding. Humanity was not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the right to write their own history, to make their own mistakes, and to face the future on their own terms. The aliens trying to rewrite the past were about to learn that humans did not give up easily, especially when someone tried to tell them who they were supposed to be. The alien ships arrived 3 days after Commander Lee Jun returned from Mars. They appeared without warning in Earth's outer solar system, their massive forms blocking out stars as they moved through space. Each vessel was larger than Earth's biggest cities, constructed from materials that seemed to bend light around their surfaces. Lee Jun stood in the primary command center, watching the approaching fleet. His staff worked frantically at their stations, trying to understand technology that defied every principle of physics they knew. The ships moved without visible engines, changed direction without momentum, seemed to exist partially outside normal space. Dr. Parkneri had not slept since detecting the first temporal changes. Her instruments now showed reality fluctuations, so intense that some areas of space near the alien fleet appeared to be aging backwards. Time itself was becoming unstable around the mysterious visitors. The lead alien vessel transmitted a message to Earth using perfect human language. The voice that spoke was calm, patient, and somehow sad. It belonged to someone calling himself Supreme Chancellor Kethmer of the galactic hegemony. As people of Earth, the message began. We come not as conquerors, but as gardeners who must tend an overgrown section of the galaxy. Your species has developed in ways that threaten the stability we have maintained for millions of years. We offer you one opportunity to understand before we proceed with necessary corrections. Captain Kim Day prepared Earth's defensive fleets, but everyone knew conventional weapons would be useless against technology that could manipulate time itself. The aliens had demonstrated their power by making human history disappear. Fighting them with missiles and energy weapons would be like attacking a hurricane with a sword. Supreme Chancellor Kethmer's ship moved into Earth orbit and requested permission to send a delegation to the surface. Lee Jun made the decision to meet with them, knowing that understanding their enemy was humanity's only hope for survival. The alien delegation materialized in the United Nations building without using any visible transportation technology. Kethmer appeared as a tall, elegant being with features that seemed to shift depending on the angle of observation. His companion introduced herself as Veiltis, a specialist in temporal manipulation. Kethmer spoke to the assembled human leaders with the tone of a teacher explaining simple concepts to children. Your species calls this galaxy home, but you do not understand the delicate balance required to maintain galactic civilization. For over 10 million years, the hegemony has guided the development of countless species to ensure harmony and stability. Engineer Johanna had managed to set up recording equipment that could capture the aliens' words, even though their translation technology worked directly on the listener's mind. She watched in fascination as Kethmer gestured to create holographic displays showing galactic history. The displays revealed a galaxy filled with thousands of intelligent species, all following similar development patterns. They advanced from primitive beginnings through predictable stages of technology and social organization. Each species reached a predetermined level of capability before being gently guided into specialized roles within the greater galactic community. Every species has a purpose, Kethmer explained. Some become artisans, others serve as agricultural worlds, still others focus on specific sciences or manufacturing. This specialization has prevented the wars and chaos that destroyed earlier galactic civilizations. Veiltis stepped forward and activated a small device that projected images directly into the minds of everyone present. The humans saw vast battles between ancient species, entire solar systems destroyed by weapons that consumed stars, and civilizations that developed so rapidly they collapsed under their own advancement. The hegemony learned from these failures, Veiltis said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in the listener's bones. We discovered that unrestricted development leads inevitably to destruction. Only through careful guidance can galactic civilization survive and prosper. Dr. Parknari found herself disturbed by the logic of the alien presentation. Their argument made sense from a purely statistical perspective. Random development had led to galactic disasters in the past. Controlled growth had maintained peace for millions of years, but something about their perfect system felt wrong to her human instincts. Kethmer continued his explanation by showing how the temporal correction technology worked. Using a small demonstration device, he reached back through time and altered the formation of a nearby asteroid. The humans watched in amazement and horror as the rock's composition changed before their eyes. Its entire billion-year history rewritten in seconds. "This is how we maintain balance," Kethmer said. "When a species develops beyond their assigned parameters, we simply adjust their paths to bring them back into harmony with the galactic order. Usually, this process is so subtle that the affected species never realizes anything is changed." The Supreme Chancellor's expression grew troubled as he looked at the human delegates. "Your species presents us with our greatest challenge in millions of years. Humanity, developed through pure chaos, random mutations, environmental disasters, and unpredictable survival responses, created a pattern we cannot easily predict or control." Captain Kim Day felt a chill as he realized the implications. Every other species in the galaxy had been guided through their development, following paths designed by the hegemony. Only humanity had grown wild and uncontrolled, creating technologies and social structures that the aliens had never encountered before. Faltis activated another device that showed the energy costs of their temporal corrections. The readings were staggering. Each attempt to alter human history required enormous amounts of power, and the changes often created unexpected ripple effects that forced additional corrections. "We have spent more energy trying to adjust human development than we used to guide the last 1,000 species combined," Valdis admitted. "Your chaotic growth pattern makes you incredibly difficult to manage through our normal methods." Engineer Johanna studied the energy readings displayed by the alien technology. Her engineering background helped her understand what the aliens might not want to admit. Their temporal manipulation system, impressive as it was, operated within specific limits. The energy requirements for major changes were enormous, and their power sources were not infinite. Kethmer presented humanity with their final offer. "We can integrate your species into the galactic community if you accept limitations on your development. You will be assigned roles suitable to your capabilities. Your natural aggression can be channeled into military service under hegemony guidance. Your technological creativity can be directed toward approved research projects. The alternative," he explained with obvious reluctance, "was complete temporal erasure. The hegemony would reach back through time and prevent humanity from ever developing intelligence, space travel, or advanced technology. Earth would become a garden world inhabited by primitive humans who would never threaten galactic stability." Dr. Park Nari asked the question that had been growing in her mind since the aliens began their presentation. "What happened to species that refused your guidance in the past?" The silence that followed her question was more revealing than any answer could have been. Valdis looked uncomfortable, while Kethmer's shifting features seemed to freeze into an expression of ancient sadness. "There have been very few such species," Kethmer finally said. "Most civilizations welcome the stability and peace we offer. Those that did not," he gestured to empty space in his holographic display, "their choices led to consequences that affected entire regions of the galaxy." Commander Lee Jun realized they were looking at the survivors of countless acts of temporal genocide. The hegemony had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had simply erased any species that refused to accept their controlled vision of galactic civilization. But as Lee Jun studied the alien delegates and their technology, he began to notice something important. Every system they had shown relied on predictable patterns and controlled variables. Their temporal manipulation worked by imposing order on chaotic natural processes. Their entire civilization was built on the assumption that rational planning could solve any problem. Humanity had never been rational or predictable. Human history was filled with impossible victories, unexpected discoveries, solutions that should not have worked, but somehow did. If the aliens were right about human chaos being difficult to control, perhaps that same chaos could be turned into a weapon against their perfectly ordered system. The meeting ended with Kethmer, giving humanity 1 week to decide their fate. The alien delegation disappeared as mysteriously as they had arrived, leaving the human leaders to contemplate an impossible choice between slavery and extinction. But Commander Lee Jun was already thinking beyond those 2 options. The aliens had revealed their greatest weakness without realizing it. Their system depended on order and predictability. Humanity's strength had always been its ability to thrive in chaos and find unexpected solutions to impossible problems. The war for humanity's right to exist would not be fought with conventional weapons or superior technology. It would be won by being magnificently, unpredictably, and chaotically human. Commander Lee Jun called an emergency meeting with Earth's brightest minds 2 days after the alien ultimatum. The conference room in Defense Command was filled with scientists, military officers, engineers, and historians. Everyone understood. They had 5 days to find a way to survive what seemed like an impossible situation. Dr. Park Nari stood at the front of the room with data streaming across multiple displays. Her analysis of the alien temporal technology had revealed something important. The hegemony system works by making precise calculations about cause and effect relationships across time, she explained. They can predict how small changes in the past will create specific results in the present. Captain Kim Dae has spent the last 48 hours reviewing every piece of intelligence they had gathered about the aliens. Their weakness is the same as their strength, he said. They depend completely on being able to predict and control outcomes. Everything they do requires perfect information and careful planning. Engineer Cho Hanna had been working around the clock, studying the energy readings from the alien demonstrations. Her findings were encouraging in an unexpected way. Commander, their temporal manipulation system has serious limitations. Each major change requires enormous amounts of energy. Complex alterations can overload their equipment, Lee Jun studied the information his team had gathered. The aliens were incredibly powerful, but their power came from precision and control. They succeeded by making small, carefully calculated changes that produced predictable results. But what would happen if they were forced to deal with complete chaos instead of control variables? What if we don't fight their temporal corrections? Lee Jun said slowly. What if we help them happen faster than their systems can handle? The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications of the commander's suggestion. Dr. Park Nari was the first to understand what he meant. We could deliberately feed their system more targets than it can process efficiently, she said, excitement growing in her voice. The plan that emerged from that meeting was unlike anything in military history. Instead of hiding human achievements from alien correction, humanity would create thousands of fake achievements designed to trigger the temporal manipulation system. If the aliens wanted to erase human development, they would have to process more data than their technology could handle. Dr. Park Nari led teams of historians and computer specialists in creating false historical records. They invented human colonies that never existed, technological breakthroughs that were complete fiction, and cultural developments that sounded plausible but were entirely imaginary. Each fake achievement was designed to look important enough to require alien correction. Captain Kim Dae coordinated the distribution of false information across human space. Every colony, every station, every ship in the human fleet began broadcasting fake historical data. They claimed credit for impossible inventions, described battles that never happened, and documented exploration missions to places humans had never visited. Engineer Cho Hanna worked with quantum physicists to build amplification devices that would boost the temporal correction signals. Instead of trying to block the alien technology, they would make it work harder and faster than ever before. The amplifiers would ensure that every fake achievement triggered the maximum possible response from the hegemony systems. The beauty of the plan was its use of humanity's greatest talent. Humans had always been excellent at creating chaos, making up stories, and improvising solutions that should not work, but somehow did. Every human colony contributed their own fake historical records, each one different and unpredictable. Li Jun established coordination centers across human space to manage the chaos strategy. The key was timing. All the false information had to be released simultaneously to create maximum overload in the alien systems. Too early, and they would have time to adapt. Too late, and humanity would face temporal ERASURE. Dr. Park Neri discovered something interesting while monitoring alien communications. The hegemony's temporal network was designed to process corrections in a specific order based on historical importance. By creating thousands of fake achievements, all claiming to be equally important, they could force the system to waste enormous amounts of processing power trying to prioritize targets. General Yun Tae arrived from the outer colonies with disturbing news. His scouts had detected massive alien installations throughout human space, all connected to the main temporal manipulation network. The hegemony had been preparing for this correction for months, building enough equipment to erase human civilization completely. But the general also brought encouraging intelligence. The alien installations were automated systems that followed predetermined protocols. They were not designed to handle unexpected situations or adapt to chaotic input. If the chaos strategy worked, those installations might become liabilities instead of assets. Captain Kim Day's reconnaissance teams reported that alien monitoring stations were already showing signs of stress. The preliminary false data releases were causing temporal correction systems to activate repeatedly, draining power reserves and creating processing bottlenecks. Engineer Cho Hana made a crucial discovery while analyzing alien technology samples recovered from Mars. The temporal manipulation systems were incredibly sophisticated, but also incredibly fragile. They required perfect synchronization across vast distances. Any disruption in timing or coordination could cause cascading failures throughout the entire network. The plan evolved to include disruption tactics alongside the chaos strategy. Human ships would position themselves near alien installations and use the quantum amplifiers to boost correction signals at precisely the wrong moments. The goal was not to destroy the alien technology, but to make it work so hard that it broke itself. Dr. Park Nari realized they could take the strategy even further. Instead of just creating false achievements, they could create false problems that would trigger the aliens' protective instincts, fake records of human weapons development, imaginary territorial expansions, and fictional alliances with other species would force the hegemony to respond to threats that did not exist. Li Jun approved the expanded plan with 1 day remaining before the alien deadline. Across human space, millions of people prepared to participate in the greatest deception in galactic history. Factory workers invented impossible manufacturing processes. Scientists documented discoveries that violated the laws of physics. Military officers filed reports of battles fought with weapons that could not exist. The false information was designed to be believable enough to trigger alien responses, but chaotic enough to overwhelm their processing systems. Each fake achievement contained internal contradictions and impossible details that would force the temporal correction systems to work harder than they were designed to handle. General Yun Tae positioned his fleets near the major alien installations throughout human space. His ships carried engineer Cho Hana's quantum amplifiers and were ready to boost temporal signals at precisely calculated moments. The goal was to create feedback loops that would amplify the chaos exponentially. As the deadline approached, Li Jun received reports from across human territory. The false historical records were ready for transmission. The quantum amplifiers were powered and positioned. Human fleets were in place to coordinate the final phase of the operation. Dr. Park Nari made final calibrations to the temporal monitoring equipment. Her instruments would track the alien response in real time, allowing humanity to adjust their strategy as the battle unfolded. She had also discovered the location of the primary alien control facility, hidden in a pocket dimension that only became accessible during major system operations. The night before the alien deadline, Li Jun addressed the human fleet in colonies across space. Tomorrow we'll discover whether chaos can defeat order, whether unpredictability can overcome perfect planning, whether humanity's greatest weakness can become our ultimate strength. The hegemony had spent millions of years perfecting their system of galactic control. They had never encountered a species willing to weaponize their own chaotic nature against impossible odds. But humanity had always specialized in doing things that should not work, but somehow did. The countdown to humanity's most desperate gamble began with the knowledge that they were about to test whether controlled perfection could survive contact with pure, magnificent chaos. The chaos strategy began at exactly noon, Earth Standard Time, across human space. Thousands of colonies and ships simultaneously broadcast their false historical records. The response from the hegemony's temporal network was immediate and catastrophic. For the aliens, Commander Li Jun watched from the primary command center as monitoring stations detected massive energy spikes throughout the galaxy. The alien temporal correction systems activated everywhere at once, trying to process and correct thousands of fake human achievements. Warning lights flashed across every display as the hegemony's network struggled to handle the unprecedented data load. Dr. Parknari tracked the alien response through her quantum detection equipment. The temporal manipulation systems were working exactly as designed, but they had never been tested against deliberate chaos. Each fake achievement triggered automatic corrections that consumed enormous amounts of energy and processing power. Commander, the alien systems are activating correction protocols faster than they can complete them. Dr. Parknari reported, excitement clear in her voice. They are trying to erase our fake colony on Kepler 442 while simultaneously correcting our fictional discovery of time travel. The contradictions are creating processing loops. Captain Kim Dae coordinated the second phase of the operation from his flagship position near the largest alien installation in the Sol system. His quantum amplifiers boosted the temporal correction signals at precisely calculated moments, creating feedback that multiplied the chaos exponentially. The alien installation near Jupiter began showing visible signs of stress, energy discharges, arced across its surface as internal systems overloaded. The structure had been designed to handle gradual, controlled corrections over long periods of time. The sudden, massive workload was pushing it beyond all operational limits across the TI galaxy. Similar scenes played out at every hegemony facility. Ancient systems that had operated flawlessly for millions of years began experiencing cascading failures as they tried to process human chaos through algorithms designed for predictable order. Engineer Chohana monitored the energy signatures from the alien network. Her readings showed that power consumption had increased by over 3,000% in the first hour of the operation. The hegemony's energy reserves, vast as they were, could not sustain this level of activity for long. Supreme Chancellor Kethmer's response came faster than expected. His massive command ship dropped out of temporal hiding and transmitted an urgent message to Earth. The calm patience in his voice had been replaced by something approaching panic. "Stop this immediately," Kethmer demanded. "Your chaotic inputs are destabilizing systems that have maintained galactic order for 10 million years. You do not understand the consequences of what you are doing." But Commander Li Jun had no intention of stopping. Forts from across human space showed that the strategy was working better than anyone had dared hope. The alien temporal network was not just overloaded. It was beginning to malfunction in ways that affected other species throughout the galaxy. Dr. Parknari detected something extraordinary in the quantum fluctuations surrounding alien installations. The temporal correction systems were experiencing random reversals, accidentally restoring historical events they had previously erased. Ancient civilizations that had been written out of galactic history were suddenly remembered again. Commander, we are seeing spontaneous restoration of suppressed historical records across dozens of star systems, Dr. Park Nari reported. The hegemony's own temporal corrections are being randomly undone as their systems struggle to process our chaos inputs. General Yuante reported from the outer colonies that alien monitoring stations were detecting massive protests on worlds throughout the galaxy. Species that had lived under hegemony control for millennia was suddenly remembering technologies, achievements they had been forced to forget. The situation escalated rapidly as more alien systems failed. Captain Kim Day's scouts detected hegemony fleets moving throughout the galaxy, trying to maintain order as their temporal control network collapsed. But the aliens faced an impossible situation. Every attempt to correct the spreading chaos only created more instability. Engineer Chohana made a crucial discovery while analyzing the failing alien systems. The temporal manipulation network was not just overloading, it was experiencing systematic cascading failures that were spreading from one installation to another. The network's greatest strength, its interconnected nature, had become a fatal weakness. The alien systems are all connected through quantum entanglement, Engineer Chohana explained to Li Jun. When one installation fails, it sends error signals to every other facility in the network. The failures are spreading faster than they can be contained. Dr. Pargnari detected a massive energy signature appearing in nearby space. Her instruments showed a structure materializing that was larger than anything in the hegemony fleet. The readings indicated it was the primary temporal control facility. It's forced into normal space by emergency stabilization protocols. Supreme Chancellor Kethmer transmitted another message. But this time, his tone carried desperation rather than authority. Your actions have forced us to activate emergency protocols that threaten the stability of space-time itself. If our primary facility is damaged, the consequences will affect the entire galaxy. Commander Li Jun realized they had reached the moment of maximum opportunity. The alien control facility was vulnerable, but only for a short time before it returned to its protected pocket dimension. This was humanity's chance to end the hegemony's control permanently. Captain Kim Day led the assault force toward the massive alien facility. His ships were equipped with Engineer Chohana's quantum amplifiers and Dr. Park Naris temporal detection equipment. The goal was not destruction, but infiltration and system access. The facility was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It existed partially outside normal space, its structure shifting and changing as internal systems fought to maintain stability. Defensive systems that should have stopped any intruder were offline. It's overwhelmed by the cascade failures spreading throughout the network. General Yun Tay's fleet engaged the hegemony forces trying to protect their control facility. The alien ships were incredibly advanced, but their crews were distracted by reports of chaos spreading throughout their territory. For the first time in millions of years, the hegemony was fighting a defensive action against multiple threats simultaneously inside the facility. Dr. Pargnari discovered the true scope of what the hegemony had done to galactic civilization. Vast databases contained records of thousands of species that had been artificially limited. Their natural development stunted to maintain the aliens' vision of perfect order. Engineer Chohana found that the temporal manipulation technology could be reversed. Instead of erasing changes, the same systems could restore what had been taken away. But the process required direct interface with alien technology designed for completely different physiology. The breakthrough came when Veltus, the alien temporal specialist, appeared in the facility's main control room. But instead of trying to stop the humans, she offered to help them. Her expression showed the weight of millions of years of suppressed guilt. I have watched my people erase countless civilizations in the name of stability, Velta said, her voice heavy with regret. I have documented every species we have suppressed, every achievement we have stolen, every dream we have crushed. The time has come to return what was taken. Valthus revealed that she had been secretly preparing for this moment for centuries. She had preserved complete records of every temporal correction the hegemony had ever made. With her help, Dr. Park Nari could not just stop the corrections, but reverse them entirely. But the process would require someone to interface directly with the alien systems while they were still experiencing cascade failures. The quantum feedback could destroy a human mind in seconds. Dr. Park Nari understood the risk, but also understood that this was humanity's only chance to free the galaxy. Commander Li Jun received reports that hegemony fleets throughout the galaxy were converging on Earth. Supreme Chancellor Kethmer was preparing for a final assault to stop the chaos before it destroyed his civilization's million-year reign. The battle for galactic freedom was about to reach its climax, as Dr. Park Nari prepared to risk her life interfacing with alien technology. The facility around them continued to destabilize. Reality fluctuated as temporal systems failed and restored themselves randomly. The next few minutes would determine whether the galaxy would return to controlled order or embrace chaotic freedom. The fate of countless civilizations rested on whether one human scientist could survive contact with technology designed to reshape the fundamental nature of existence itself. Dr. Park Nari stood before the massive alien control interface, knowing that the next few minutes would determine the fate of galactic civilization. The temporal manipulation systems around her sparked and fluctuated as cascade failures continued to spread through the hegemony's network. This was her only chance to reverse millions of years of artificial control. Veltus guided her through the connection process, explaining how human neural patterns might interact with technology designed for alien minds. Your chaotic thought processes are exactly what we need, the alien specialist said. Our systems work by imposing order on natural chaos. A human mind thinking in pure chaos might be able to reverse that process. Commander Li Jun coordinated the final assault from outside the facility, while Dr. Park Nari worked. Captain Kim. Day's fighters engaged the Shamani ships that were desperately trying to reach their control center. The aliens fought with the desperation of a species, watching their million-year empire collapse around them. Engineer Chohana monitored the facility's energy systems as Dr. Park Nari prepared for the interface. The quantum feedback levels were approaching dangerous limits. One mistake could kill Dr. Park Nari instantly, but success would free every species the hegemony had ever suppressed. Dr. Park Nari placed hands on the alien interface and immediately felt the overwhelming complexity of the temporal network flooding her mind. Information from millions of years and thousands of civilizations poured through her consciousness. The sheer volume of data should have destroyed her human brain instantly, but instead of breaking under the load, Dr. Park Nari's mind began to work in ways it never had before. Her chaotic human thought patterns refused to organize the information into neat categories like the alien systems expected. Instead, she let the data flow freely, creating connections and possibilities that the rigid alien logic could never achieve. Through the interface, she could see the true history of the galaxy. Countless species had developed incredible technologies, created beautiful art, and solved problems in ways the hegemony had never imagined. All of it had been erased or stolen to maintain the aliens' vision of perfect order. The process of reversing the temporal corrections was like solving a puzzle with millions of pieces, except every piece was constantly changing shape. Dr. Park Nari's human intuition guided her through possibilities that alien logic would have rejected as impossible. She began to understand that chaos was not the enemy of order, but its necessary partner, across the galaxy. The effects of her work became visible immediately. On worlds that had been controlled by the hegemony for millennia, ancient technologies suddenly reappeared. Species that had forgotten their own achievements began to remember discoveries that had been erased from history. Captain Kim Day reported from the battle outside that something extraordinary was happening. Ships from dozens of different species were arriving to join the fight against the hegemony. Civilizations that had been kept deliberately weak were suddenly remembering how to build weapons and defensive systems. Supreme Chancellor Kathmer's flagship arrived at the facility with the largest hegemony fleet ever assembled. But instead of facing just human ships, he found himself confronting an alliance of species that had been suppressed for millions of years. Each civilization brought unique technologies and tactics that the hegemony had spent eons trying to eliminate. General Yoon Tae coordinated the defensive efforts as the battle became a test of chaos versus order on the largest possible scale. The hegemony's forces were perfectly organized and followed precise tactical doctrines. The Allied fleet was a chaotic mix of different species, using incompatible technologies and contradictory strategies. The chaos proved devastatingly effective. Hegemony commanders could not predict or counter tactics that followed no logical pattern. Human pilots flying impossible maneuvers worked alongside alien ships using weapons that should not have existed. The perfect order of the hegemony fleet crumbled under the assault of organized chaos. Inside the facility, Dr. Park Nari reached the core systems that controlled galactic temporal manipulation. She could feel Veltus guiding her through the most dangerous part of the process. Here, a single mistake could unravel the timeline of the entire galaxy, destroying everything that had ever existed. But Dr. Park Nari's human instincts told her something the aliens had never understood. Chaos and order were not enemies. They needed each other to create something greater than either could achieve alone. She began to reconfigure the alien systems not to impose perfect order, but to allow natural balance between chaos and stability. The transformation spread throughout the hegemony's network faster than anyone had expected. Instead of fighting the cascade failures, Dr. Park Nari embraced them and used them to carry her changes to every alien facility in the galaxy. The temporal manipulation systems that had once enforced rigid control became tools for restoring natural development. Engineer Cho Hana watched in amazement as energy readings throughout the facility began to stabilize. The dangerous quantum feedback was transforming into harmonic resonance as the systems learned to work with chaos instead of against it. Dr. Park Nari had not just reversed the alien controls, she had fundamentally changed how they worked. Across the galaxy, the liberation accelerated. Species that had been forced into narrow specializations suddenly remembered they were capable of much more. Agricultural worlds rediscovered their scientific traditions. Military species recalled their artistic achievements. The artificial boundaries the hegemony had imposed began to dissolve. Supreme Chancellor Kathmer finally understood what was happening and transmitted a message of surrender. This perfectly ordered civilization had been built on the suppression of natural galactic development. Now that suppression was ending, and the hegemony could not survive in a galaxy where chaos and order existed in natural balance. The final hegemony resistance collapsed when their own people began to remember what they had lost. Many alien species within the hegemony had been just as controlled and limited as the civilizations they had helped to suppress. As their memories returned, they turned against the system that had stolen their potential. Dr. Park Nari completed the reversal process and carefully disconnected from the alien interface. The temporal manipulation network was still active, but it now worked to maintain natural balance rather than artificial control. Species could develop freely while cosmic-scale disasters would still be prevented. Commander Lee Jun received reports from across human space that the threat was over. The hegemony's fleets were surrendering or joining the new Galactic Alliance. Supreme Chancellor Kethmer had agreed to dissolve his government and help establish a system based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced control. Veilthus approached Dr. Parknari as she recovered from the interface process. "You have done something we thought impossible," the alien said. "You have proven that chaos and order can work together instead of one dominating the other." Okay. The aftermath of the liberation took months to fully understand. The galaxy suddenly had access to millions of years of suppressed knowledge and technology. Species that had been enemies for millennia discovered they had been manipulated into conflict by hegemony policies designed to prevent cooperation. Captain Kim Day led exploration missions to study civilizations that were rediscovering their own histories. Each species brought unique perspectives and capabilities that had been hidden for generations. The diversity was chaotic, but incredibly productive. Engineer Cho Hanna worked with alien scientists to study the modified temporal technology. They found that the new systems could prevent cosmic disasters while allowing natural development. The galaxy could have both safety and freedom. General Yuente helped establish the new Galactic Alliance based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced hierarchy. Each species contributed what they could and received what they needed. The system was messy and unpredictable, but it worked. Dr. Parknari became the first director of the Galactic Historical Archive, dedicated to preserving the true history of every species and preventing future attempts at artificial control. She wrote the opening entry herself, describing how humanity had learned that their greatest weakness was actually their greatest strength. The galaxy had learned that perfect order led to stagnation and death, while pure chaos led to destruction. But the balance between order and chaos created something magnificent. The freedom for every species to write their own story and contribute their unique gifts to the greater galactic community. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had liberated it, giving every civilization the right to be chaotic, unpredictable, and magnificently themselves. The aliens had tried to rewrite history, but humanity had written a better ending for everyone.